So my findings have had me come to the conclusion that Mr. Mclenerney is completely at fault. After I did all my calculations, I found that he was going way too fast for him to have been stopped initially at the light, because if he were to be initially stopped at a light, based on the distance away that the collision happened and the 3 meters per second square that a Civic can accelerate, he would have only been able to go 8.3 meters per second. Where I found him to be going at the incident, after I did all my calculations, to be going 12.91 meters per second. Um, which So obviously he had to have run that red light, or not red light, that flashing red light or stop sign. So you've had to stop. So that was breaking law. Whereas Miss Lang, she was going 12.63, which is more than what she had stated in her police report, almost double. But however, she was not breaking any laws. She had a flashing yellow. She could proceed straight through. I was able to find these by, first of all, um, I started with finding the coefficient of friction, which I then did. I just used the friction equation. Friction is equal to uh, mu static times normal force, and I had to calculate my mu static using the 100 Newton force given to pull the tire and the 130 normal force of the tire. I calculated that to find my static friction of the tire. Then I multiplied that to find that was for the car. Multiplied that by 0.7 to find the coefficient of friction for the truck. Then I plugged that back into my friction equation. Got the friction for the tire, which was 10,458.4 newtons for the truck, or not for the truck, for the car, and 37530.77 for the truck. From that, I could then calculate my acceleration using F equals ma for both the truck and the car, which for the car, I came up with 7.69 meters per second squared, and for the truck, I came with 5.384 meters per second squared. From that, I found my velocity using the kinematic equation v squared final is equal to v squared initial plus 2 times the acceleration times your delta x, or distance. So from that, I was able to find the initial velocity of the truck after the collision to be, or for the truck, I found it to be 10.88 meters per second, and for the car to be 11.23 meters per second. From that, I could then plug it into my momentum equation. I had the mass, but I did not have the initial velocity before the collision. I could use momentum because in this equation, momentum in this scenario, the momentum was conserved in this collision. So I split up in the x and y's because the cars were diverted at an angle, and also, so I set it I set my initial mass. I set the mass of the car equal to its initial velocity, which in the x direction, which would have been 0 because it was going in a vertical, and then plus the mass of the truck times its initial velocity, which was unknown, is set equal to the mass of the car times its initial velocity in the x, which I did its final velocity times cosine 33, plus the mass of the truck times its velocity times cosine of 7 to get the x coordinates, or components. I then came to the conclusion that the truck's initial velocity before the incident was 12.63 meters per second. I did the same in the y, and since the truck was only going horizontal, its velocity was 0, and the car's velocity in the horizontal was unknown. I did the exact same thing, except for my final velocities, I multiplied them by sine of theta instead of cosine of theta to get my velocity for the car to be 12.91 meters per second.